So this practical is to write MS Access code to create a database table and modify the table. So we are using here the MS Access, that is Microsoft Access software. The relevant program outcomes are basic knowledge, discipline knowledge, experiments and practice, individual and teamwork, and the communication. Now this part is the same that is included in the manual. Competency and practical skill. The students will be able to create a database, create a table, assign a primary key and modify table in MS Access. The relevant course outcome is to create and manage database using the SQL commands. Then the practical outcomes, creating database, creating tables, assigning primary key, modifying the structure, inserting and updating the records. Relevant affective domain outcomes, follow safety measures and follow ethical practices. Minimum theoretical background required for this practical is the database creation, data input, query and the report. Now the procedure that we are going to perform is to start a database, that is a blank template, give some name, store into some folder, then save a database, then apply different features like opening a database, creating a table, assigning set particular name to the table, adding fields to the table, giving the name to the field, choosing appropriate data types, assigning a primary key and checking whether the primary key is being applied or not, then saving a table, closing a table and closing the database. So we will see one by one everything. These are the resources which is required: the hardware and the computer system configuration, the operating systems and the software that is required. This is the minimum specification, and these are the actual resources used to perform this particular experiment. Now starting with the MS Access. Once you open the MS Access, you will get this particular on your screen. So starting with the blank desktop database, so you can see a blank desktop database. So select this option. So this will ask you for the name of the database. So by default it is database 1. So you can give some another name to this. For example, I say sample DB, and then what I will do is select this create button. So once I select the create button, this screen will be visible to me. So now I want to add a column. So already a table 1 is created here. This is by default name for the table. So adding a column. So to add a column here, we can see click to add. So directly click on that. There are different types, that is data types, that you want for the particular column. So what I am doing here is selecting as a number. So number, by default value it is giving 0 and it shows like this field 1 by default. So I will rename this as say book ID. Now what I will be doing is creating a database for a book. So book ID, then say I adding another column which is of the type text. So again it shows me like this field. So I'm giving the name as a book title. So this is of type text. Similarly, I am adding author and price. So this is of type number, this is of type text, this is of type text, and this is of type number. So I have created 4 columns, that is 4 fields in this particular table. Now entering a data. So directly click on this, that is inserting a data. So I have some book ID here, then book title, author and the price. Now this is how I have entered this record for a one particular book, that is the ID of that book, title of that book, author of that book and the price of that book. So similarly I can add multiple records. So after adding a multiple records, so this is what the record I have. So I have entered the record for a total of 8 books. Now when I'm considering for the primary key, the main concept of primary key is that it should be unique and it should be not null, means it should not be empty and it should be unique. Now in this only this book ID of that particular related book table, using this book ID only I can identify that particular book, because there can be book title of same name, author can be multiple as we can see here, price can also be the same, like we have here like this 350 350, so you cannot uniquely identify that. So book ID, so again it is important to identify a book, and again so it is unique and not null. So to select this, so what I will do is select that particular column, then here in the field menu there are two options, that is required and unique. So unique specifies, makes it required for the values in the field to be unique for all the records in a table. Means when you select this, it indicates that the entries that are made in this particular column will be unique. Similarly, the required field. So this makes the required field, all the, that is all the instances of this field must contain a value, means it should not be empty. So this satisfies the primary key condition, that is it should be unique and it should not be a null, that is it should not be empty. So now once I have assigned this, so this column will become a primary key. So when I'm entering, so I'm trying to enter say 119 as a book ID. Now we can see here already I have 119 as an ID here. So since I have already assigned the primary key, it should not allow me. So for before that I have to complete this complete row. So that is I have entered all this. Now once I am going to the next row, when I am going to the next row, what it tells that it will show me this message, that is the changes you requested to the table were not successful because they would create a duplicate values. Now this duplicate values, so this is duplicate values, so it is not allowing me. So you again press OK. Now what I am doing is changing this value, say 109. Now I don't have any 109 here, so it will accept. So all this it is accepted. So this is how my primary key has been added. Now modifying a table, that is I want to add a column, that is I am changing the structure. So again I am going here, click add, say short text, and I am adding a column, that is a country. So again there are no rules assigned for this, so one by one I have entered all the country name. So in this way I have modified the table, I have inserted the table, I have assigned a primary key also. Now when I want to close the table, you can see here the cross, the X that is showing. So using this you can close the table. So once when I select this, the close tab, this will be the message shown, that is do you want to save the changes design of the table 1, because by default table 1 is created and I have not saved that table. So it will ask me, do you want to change? Then you say yes, then it will give you again the table name, because by default it is table 1. So do you want to save as table 1 itself, or do you want to save as some another name? So what I can do is I can change the name. So what I have done is instead of table 1 I have selected here as a book details. So again when I press OK, instead of table 1, here the table shows the book details. So I have again saved my table. Then I want to rename this, because maybe I want to change the name of the table. So what I will do is right click, and then I have the rename option. So rename, so you can see here, so instead of this you can give another name and say enter. So instead of book details I have placed here as a book data. So what we have done here is opened a database, created a database. In that database we have created a table. In that table we have created different fields, we have assigned different types of that field, then we have inserted the data, then we have modified the data, then we have assigned a primary key, that is unique and not null. We have also checked that, we have tested that whether the conditions that are constraints that we have given for primary key, whether it is accepting or not. We have checked that, so it does not allow us the duplicate values. and then what we have done is save the table, we have renamed the table, right? So this is what we have in the first practical. Now some practical related questions that are given in your manual is name the types of GUI database available in your laboratory, like Microsoft Access, MySQL, Microsoft SQL Server. Then second, we have write down the procedure for creating tables in a database. That is, select fields, then set field types and formats, and set primary key and create table. Then name open source SQL database management system. We have MySQL, MongoDB, Apache Hive, and SQLite. So these are the practical questions that are given in your manual. So whenever you have manuals with you, you can note down this. If you have any doubt regarding this first practical, you can approach me. These are my details. Thank you.